After non-duality, what I have to say is meaningless. There really is nothing. Even the message of the Theosophical Society is unity. If there is only one, then there's nothing to compare it with. So there's actually only one thing. So, and my topic too is a tough one to communicate. I didn't want to do a travelogue of showing you pictures of Adyar. So the heart of the Theosophical Society is a tough topic to explore. So I'll just try my best. And before I start, Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om. What this sentence phrase means is that whatever I am saying is on behalf of the teacher, because until we have all realized the self, we can't really talk about the self. And anyone who stands on a platform and gives a discourse or a presentation is always only doing behalf of the self. Adyar, as we all know, is in South India. It used to be a suburb of Madras, which was the presidency of the British Empire before India got its freedom. And it used to be a small village, but now the big city of Chennai surrounds it. And it's 267 acres of park-like surroundings. It's just an amazing place. Actually, Chennai and Tamil Nadu is a dry, deciduous area. There are very few green pockets. So it has been the work of members of the Theosophical Society since they acquired that land in 1882, that they've developed it into this amazing retreat center, which is, it's like the lungs of the city itself. There's another property which is a National Reserve and IIT Madras. All these are the green pockets. Like in Wellington, we have that green thing at the hills. The town belt. So it's something like that. So when you talk about the heart of something, it has to be something that pumps life into the body. So Adyar is actually an example how beings of all levels are living in harmony. Jinnaraja Dasa, who traveled all over the world during the time of the war, I think the Second World War, he managed to get all kinds of plants and from all over the world, and he planted them in Adyar. So you have the African baobab tree, which is like so huge, probably half of this room, and all these little examples which you would never find in any other part of Tamil Nadu, you could say. So you have all these little creatures living there, and we also have stray dogs that we take care of. So all these are on the outer side of things. They reflect the inner. So if you look at Adyar, the physical, this is what you will see. As soon as you enter the gates, it just is an influence. I know some of you have already been there and you're smiling because you've experienced it. And it's just an amazing place, and it's something that we all have a responsibility to protect. And I would like to share with you something that Dr. L.J. Bendit has written. He says, this, however, represents the outer physical body of the headquarters. The society, being a living entity, has not only a personality at the physical and psychic levels, but also a spiritual aspect. It has a powerful atmosphere built up over the last many decades, both by those who have lived at Adyar and live there now, and by the thoughts of the whole worldwide society whose heart it is. It represents in concentrated form what is to be found in every national headquarters, every lodge, and every member of the society worthy of the name. Now, when I first drove into Vasanta House precincts, when I first came to New Zealand, I felt the same influence that I've felt in Adyar. I thought I was home. So it's just so amazing that you find that it truly is the heart of the Theosophical Society. Wherever you go, and even people that you meet, you find that same influence from them. Now, what is the purpose of the Theosophical Society, and why do we need a hat? What is it all about? So when I thought I was going to do this talk, I thought, let me research of everyone who said anything about Adyar, and I found so much material, and I found articles which said the heart of the Theosophical Society. Here are all these people, without my knowing it, have said the same phrase over and over again. And I was able to only research 10% of what I found. And as I, of course, went through the 1910s, the 1940s, the 1960s, I picked up books from these different periods of time, and I saw what a vibrant center and all the things that happened by the people who lived there, because it was during the First World War and in between, and then the Second World War, and then after. So if you look at a pulsating center, what it is doing is giving life for the light to shine even in the greatest darkness. So all members of the society who fought during the wars, people who traveled giving talks at that time, and many other service groups started. There was the Theosophical Women's Association in New Zealand which started. So many things were, so many seeds were planted, and we are enjoying the fruits of it today. And there was another aspect to the movement of the Theosophical Society, which was to herald the onward movement of the next step in human evolution. So the principles that are promulgated through the Theosophical Society is a preparation for the next step. We are always complaining that people are not brotherly, people are always fighting with each other, people are this, people are that. But we are undergoing training. We haven't reached that perfection yet where we can live like the bees that we learned about yesterday. So some of us are still learning, some of us already know it. They are compassionate towards the ones who don't know. What I find is in Theosophy and the Theosophical Society, it's like the lakes that I have been visiting in New Zealand the last 3 weeks. You have the bank where you can go put your feet in, you're a child, you are safe, you have that feet you put, though it's cold, I tried it. So you don't sink and you fall, but there's also the depth of the lake you can't see. So anyone can find something in Theosophy. We are always expecting everyone to be where we are, in whatever depth we are. But there's plenty of space for everyone to swim in. So, and New Zealand, the whole trip, I just felt like Theosophy is water, and it's irrigating this land of New Zealand, and it's sprouting seeds, it's having rocks and colors, and it's just amazing that the people of New Zealand are reflecting all those colors, because it's being watered, because we are the seat of the next step in evolution, and so is America, and so is Australia. These are the new nations that are coming up, which will be leading the world in the future. So what is it that is needed? And that is what is being given through the Theosophical Society. It was an experiment. If you look at history, every step in human evolution, there was a presentation of the divine wisdom through a religion. So this time, the inner founders thought that let us start an organization in which all these 7 or plus religions could come, people of those religions or no religion could come together and form a new concept of how to live as a brotherhood. And if it is an experiment, I came across several statements saying this is a magnificent failure. So, and what a failure, it's wonderful. So I came across this statement, and it said it's an experiment. So how would you deal with an experiment? We've had a whole, a convention on Theosophy as a science, philosophy, and religion. And we have all heard about that you have to have experimentation. And as a society, we have to try different experiments because we haven't found the answer. We are in a great space of uncertainty. So what is the heart of this uncertainty to do? And Adyar is the heart of the Theosophical Society. I came across some people who knew some members who were around before India got its freedom. And someone asked that person, what is it you value in our conventions? And he said, this is the only place I can talk to the British at the same level. Everywhere else, we are just servants. And they would treat the natives like dirt, of course. And Theosophical conventions were the only place that was an even platform. We take all this for granted today, but this was the case. So it's like a pioneering movement. So there are no fixed, crystallized forms to fall back on. So you have to trial and error. And the Adyar as a heart of such a movement, I'd like to share with you what G.S. Arundel writes about it. He says, Adyar is a workshop. What a tremendous privilege it is to be here, even though we, through ignorance, may sometimes serve Adyar less well than we should. What a need there is for workers who will come to Adyar in a spirit of simplicity and efficiency. Adyar is the hub of the Theosophical universe, and its spokes reach every country in the world. Now, if you look at, again, humanity and its history and this organization, which is the Theosophical Society, we have to ask ourselves, we are all coming from different branches here, what is their role? And for that, there is another quote I found, which I cannot better, so I will read it out to you. It's by Emma Hunt, who was the General Secretary for 15 years of the New Zealand section. And I found her writing so amazing. I think I should compile it, make a compilation of her writings. Her editorials were very, very good. So I'll read out to you what she says. Lodges of the Theosophical Society are potent instruments in the hands of those who guide and guard our worlds. They can become fighting forces for the light, and in this hour of human stress are specially called to activity. The mighty strength which is flowing from Adyar is flowing invisibly through every small lodge. Each lodge, however small, is an outpost of the consciousness of the whole society and is part of its great chain of influence. Having so little of outer help and encouragement, they are especially blessed from the inner worlds. You know, we think of lodges that are really struggling. There are a few people there, but work goes on. Work is always going on the inner planes. If you are doing your duty correctly, making it as spiritual as possible, it's a shining center. She goes on, our lodges are pioneers as they uphold the banner of the great wisdom in the dark ignorance of the world, and it is of the utmost consequence that they should function. So keeping a lodge going in spite of all difficulties is very important, because for that city or that town, it's necessary. That's why it exists. So it's very important to do that work, she says. Each member, even if not attached to a lodge, is a magnetic center in his district, carrying with him the vital influence of theosophical thought. Now, I know in this gathering there are people who are here who are headquarters members. So even they are the centers of theosophical thought. So none of us are excused from doing our work. Each lodge becomes a center of creative energy as it is spiritually oriented. It can be used to raise the thought of the country to higher levels of expression and activity. It becomes a means of communication with the inner worlds and a reservoir of spiritual power, a strong peace center. Now, many times I read lots of magazines and from the olden days, old only in time but not in wisdom. And I find that when I read this said Peace Center, I have a friend who came to Wellington Lodge and she said, this is like an oasis. And she's not a member. She just kept visited a couple of times, and this is what she said. And it's amazing. I've heard this of many other lodges as well. Now, what is our responsibility for the next step in humanity? And Emma Hunt goes on to say, a new step forward in evolution is about to be taken, and our lodges are heralds of the onward movement of the race. Lodges are not cloisters in which to dwell, but rather are they workshops in which members creatively strive to fashion the thoughts of men towards the discovery of a new way of life. There is an expectation that those who are members should already have all the qualities that are mentioned in the books. Isn't it? People like to come to a ready-made environment. Everything is cozy, no conflict, no doubt, no uncertainty. And all the work someone else has to do. What about you who have arrived? This is a workshop. Get your hammer and chisel and start working. So that's what our lodges are for, not for people to come and feel, oh, look, great, I found like-minded people here. We can all pat each other on our shoulders and say, Mutual Admiration Society, let us do as we please. Forget the new race. Forget the Theosophical movement. Who cares? We found great people we can talk to. And then after some time, because nobody is studying and nobody is making the effort to go to the next step because it's getting comfortable, then we start fighting with each other. So lodges, again, are not cloisters. And she says, brotherly living is the greatest factor and in some ways the most difficult. And H.P. Blavatsky says in another place about self-knowledge, she says, our duty is to encourage and assist individual fellows in self-improvement, intellectual, moral, and spiritual. Now, when you go to Adyar as a spiritual center, there's a river of spiritual forces flowing there. The vibration rate is so high that when you first go there, it takes time to adjust to it. And when Clara Cord went to live and work there, she found that she was getting depressed. So she talked to Annie Besant and said, here I am in the most wonderful part of the world, Adyar, the home of the masters. Why am I getting depressed? She said, Annie Besant said, this is Adyaritis. This is all your vehicles getting adjusted to this new vibration. You just wait for some time and you'll be okay. So many people who go there, they find that very bright light is shown on them. So if you are an egoistic person, you'll become even more egotistic. And you'll say, everyone's stupid, I'm not going to stay here, and you go away. I know better than everyone here. And if you are an insecure person, the insecurity is magnified as well. Because all the buttons that you were avoiding in the world, in your own life, if you didn't like somebody saying something, you would just go away. All that can't go. You can't run away from yourself in Adyar. So things just pop up. Things you didn't know exist pop up. So the 2 times I went and worked there, I was there for 2 years first time and 3.5 years second time. The first 2 years was like 20 years. And the 3.5 years was like a lifetime. I didn't even recognize myself when I came out. But I didn't realize when it was happening, It was the toughest 5 years of my life. Everything else is easy after that. So it's just so amazing. That place is like that. So if you go to any other spiritual center, it is the same. So it's just how you notice. When I need a recharge, I go to Adyar. It keeps me going for 2 years. So as the heart of the Theosophical Society, it is a responsibility for all of us to maintain it. Like if you look at our body, and we have a heart, and we feed ourselves nourishment. So the members in the rest of the world is its nourishment. It's how much reverence, how much devotion we have to Adyar and the people who founded the Theosophical Society, whether it's Madame Blavatsky and Alcott, or their teachers. Everything depends. This Adyar, the center, if it has to work, depends on all of us. So we have to ask ourselves, what is our duty towards this center? I mean, I hear a lot about center, but do we contribute to those centers? That's the question we have to ask. After non-duality, what I have to say is meaningless. There really is nothing.